Okay, thank you and welcome everyone to the February 6th, 2024 meeting of the Goffstown Zoning Board of Adjustment. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome. The Goffstown Zoning Board is an elected board of 5 members and up to 5 appointed alternates. We currently have 4 members and 1 alternate. If you're interested in joining the ZBA, please see the Zoning and Planning Office at Town Hall or contact Denise Langley. The board has a posted agenda for each meeting and tends to follow the items in order. The board will open a public hearing on an application to receive testimony from applicants, abutters, and affected parties and ask questions about the request. The public hearing will then be closed and the board will enter into a deliberative session to discuss the merits of the request. For each application, the board will decide to approve with conditions, deny, or continue to a later meeting. You're welcome to watch the deliberations this evening, or you can contact the Planning and Zoning Office at Town Hall tomorrow morning to get the results. For an applicant's request to be approved, there must be an affirmative vote of at least 3 members. An applicant can request a continuance if there is not a full 5-member board to act on an application. If you are aggrieved by a decision made by the ZBA tonight, you have the right to appeal to the Superior Court. However, before appealing to Superior Court, you must request a rehearing with this board to preserve your right to appeal. Rehearing requests must be filed within 30 days of the decision and state all reasons why the decision was unlawful or unreasonable. Failure to request a rehearing may forfeit your ability to appeal to the Superior Court. I'd ask everyone to please silence your cell phones for the course of the meeting. And I ask the members of the board to introduce themselves, starting on that end with Jack.
My name is Jack Shepard, Building Inspector, Code Enforcement Officer, and Zoning.
Gail Breck, Recording Secretary.
Denise Langley, Vice Chair.
Leonard Stewart, Chairman.
Alan Yaton, member.
Judy Elaine, member.
Jason Cody, member.
All right, moving right into the business at hand. Does anyone have any corrections, exceptions to the minutes of the January 2nd meeting? I'll take a motion.
Do we want to defer for the,
Well, we do.
to complete the whole package?
No, they're
We can do,
separate.
okay.
They're separate.
Okay. I'll motion to accept the minutes as written.
I'll specify that it's the public minutes.
Correct.
Do I get a second?
Do I hear a second?
Do I at this moment?
I will, let's,
We'll get to the, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not, okay, yeah.
can I get a second from someone?
I'll second.
All in-
Judy could have still seconded. She's
Okay,
still
we
a
haven't
vote.
appointed, we haven't appointed.
No, she's still an alternate.
Yeah.
She should be the voting alternate.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We'll get it straightened out, I
Okay.
promise. All right, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstaining, minutes are accepted. For the purposes of this well, let's move into the next item of business. We have a resignation from a member of the board, Gail LeBrecq, who is a former member who has moved out of town and is now the recording secretary and will not be participating in the business of the board. For purposes of tonight's application, I'm going to appoint Judy Elaine, the voting alternate, and I'd also like to propose Judy for full membership in the board. We are able to make an appointment of a replacement member She would serve from the time she is sworn in through the town election of 2025, the remainder of Gail Brick's term. You'd be able to choose in January if you want to run for a full term on your own. Are you amenable to the nomination?
Yes.
If so, I propose Judy for full membership.
I'll second.
Good.
Multiple seconds.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye. And I'd also like to comment, she has done a great job as an alternate and has definitely put her time in, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. The process going forward, you'll be voting as a voting alternate tonight because of the timing of it. Sometime before the next meeting, go to Kathy Ball's office at the town hall. Tell her you were voted in by the board. She'll give you the paperwork to sign
Okay.
and swear you in as a full member in time for the next meeting.
Okay, then. Yep.
Okay, that little
Great.
bit of business attended to. Let's move into the public hearings. We have one public hearing on the slate tonight. I'm gonna slaughter it. Sharon, what's the correct pronunciation?
Yep, Michael Sharon.
Michael Sharon, applicant owner, is seeking a special exception and a variance to convert a single-family home into a two-family home. The variance is required as the lot size is .21 acres or 9,319 square feet, whereas the lot is required to have .5 acres, 21,780 square feet, to convert the single-family home to a two-family home. Per section 4.3, the table of dimensional regulations, and section 4.3, parens 8 of the Goffstown zoning ordinance. A two-family home is allowed by special exception per section 14.7.3 of the Goffstown zoning ordinance. The property is located at 88 Louis Street, map 17, lot 224, zone residential 2. I'll take a motion on regional impact.
The motion is no regional impact.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Someone are speaking for the applicant, please come on up and tell us about the project.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I'm Joe Wickert. So I'm the surveyor that prepared the plan in front of you this evening. And I'm here tonight on behalf of Mike Sharon, who's the owner of the current, the property we're talking about. So this property has actually been in Mr. Sharon's, it's Mr. Sharon's, his wife who passed away in October of 22. Her mother's residence. When Mrs. Sharon passed away, Mr. Sharon has the property now because of her passing. So currently Mike is living in Florida over the winter, and he'd like to, when he comes back to Manchester, he'd like to, not Manchester, I'm sorry, when he comes back to New Hampshire, he'd like to live here. So we're looking to add an addition, a 26 by 30 addition onto the north side of the existing residence. So the existing lot is 224 on tax map 17. As you mentioned in the reading, it has 9,319 square feet. So when we started this, the parties thought that it was a bigger lot, because if you look on the, like on the east side of the plan, there's a fence line that goes to the top of the hill of where the ball fields are. And they believed that they actually owned to the fence. So when we did the survey work, we had said, well, the plan that creates these lots is pretty clear. You don't own to the fence, and then it was, over the course of time, somebody had said something, but there's no ownership beyond the lot line. So the area between the lot line and the fence is just, that's town property. So we're actually short on the acreage. In the R2 district, as you mentioned, two-family dwellings are allowed by right, but you need the half an acre. We have, we're slightly under a half of that because we have about 0.21 acres, a little less than a quarter. So we have a variance count into you for a two-family dwelling on a lot that's less than half an acre. And then we also have a special exception application in for needing for a two-family dwelling. So, you know, we had talked to staff and Derek about this before we made the formal submission, and then there's like a third, I don't know what you want to call it, default position here, which is the applicant, we had looked at doing an ADU. And an ADU would be allowed by right in this district. And as long as it's under 800 square feet and it meets the other requirements. So there would be some like reconfiguration of the front doorway, I believe, and things like that. But square footage wise, this would work. What we're proposing for the addition meets all the current setbacks, so that's fine. We would end up having to come here anyhow for the special exception on the ADU because the lot's undersized. If we had a 10,000 square foot lot, we had a 10,000 square foot lot and they vote on the new zoning ordinance in March, you can do I believe you can do an ADU by right. You can just go pull a building permit. In our case, because we have a lot that's under 10,000 square feet in a district that requires 10,000, we would have had to come here anyhow for the ADU request. So basically what we're asking for is if the board would be so inclined to grant the variance to allow for the two-family, should the board not be comfortable with the variance request to allow for the two-family, then I believe we would need the special exception and we would dumb down the request from a two-family to an accessory dwelling unit of approximately the same size. The plan would probably be then, we would wait until after the town vote, and depending on the results of the town vote, we would either just pull a building permit by right, or we would, well, if we get this, I don't know if I'd have to come back here. So hopefully, we would just have to, this would be it, and we would get one with an ADU. So what we've done is, this layout has, because of the two-family, we're required 4 parking spots. So we're holding the parking spot nearest to the south side of the house, that's 1 space, and then we're proposing new pavement behind the house for an additional 3 spaces to meet the parking requirement. They're not, if you look at the rear of the property, whether it be a two-family or an ADU, we don't really have enough space for a deck or whatever, so they're probably just going to put a little landing and maybe a patio there, similar to the one that's, maybe replacing the one that is being lost due to the parking. I think we went through the criteria here in the application. I believe Mr. Sharon had spoken to the neighbors, and I don't believe there was any huge opposition, so he decided we were going to kind of move forward, make the request for the two-family. Should the zoning board not believe we meet that requirement, then we would look to, the default position would be to go back to the ADU. But if we get the the special exception now, then we don't have to do anything additional. We have the lot coverage on there. We're below the lot coverage. I think the property is serviced by sewer and water, so the new addition will also be serviced by sewer and water. The plan that creates this lot was done in 1918, so it well predates any of the town ordinances. And we don't have any more land to get to the point of having a half an acre. So if the board has any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Can you tell me why he doesn't want to go for an ADU unit, which would be?
I think I believe when his wife passed, he purchased a property in Florida, and that's his primary residence. So, one of these units under the ADU ordinance or whatever, it has to be owner occupied. So it's possible to do, and certainly if that's where the board's at, I guess that's what we're gonna look to do. But the hope was, the intent is for him to use the new unit and, you know, the in-laws to continue to use their existing space. But it would just, the ADU does have some limitations, so we were trying to, you know, if we didn't have to go the ADU route, that's what we were hoping for.
Well, I think, I mean, if I understand the law correctly, the ADU unit, I think the biggest limitation would be he wouldn't be able to rent it out when he's not there. If he uses it as his residence, whether if he's on, you know, you could be on a 6-month vacation, it's allowed, but if you know, I mean,
I thought it was owner occupied for ADUs.
No.
oh, it's not?
Owner,
No,
no, it's not.
no, it's not.
Why did he refer to that in
Okay,
the
then,
application so
then
heavily?
apparently he does not have, it's not owner occupied
Yeah,
requirement.
so, you know, that would be fine. There are some architectural features or whatever that he'd prefer the two-family. It's, you know, it's, Goffstown's ordinance with the multifamily component, typically a lot of the towns we deal with, you know, the 1 or 2 family dwellings are either allowed or prohibited. There's not like it's allowed, but you need an area requirement, right? So that's a little bit on the unique side. And because it was allowed, you know, we went through it. We were originally going to go for an ADU. He looked at it and he said, well, is it allowed? I'm like, yeah, it's allowed, but we don't have enough area, so we're going to be here anyhow. So we figured we'd come in and ask, and, you know, if the board decides otherwise, we'd still accomplish something, because I believe we're going to need the special exception because the lot is slightly undersized. In that case, you know, we're only undersized by 681 square feet or whatever, and certainly I believe we have a hardship for that because we can't change that.
Correct. And I, you know, I'm just speaking out loud, I haven't made a determination, but I understand that hardship
Yep.
a little easier than I see a hardship on a 2-family.
So,
Because of this, how much, you know, it's less than half. It's
so I'm
required.
looking at the ordinance, so for accessory dwelling unit, it says the single family residence or the accessory dwelling unit shall be and shall remain owner occupied. It does.
Yes, it does.
And I looked to make sure that they were this year's, so.
So,
They were-
that's what I had read.
Yeah, that's what I
Yes.
was reading too, so.
It's all up to voting when it comes in March.
Right, but as of right now.
As of
As of now,
Okay. That may change my opinion. Because then there's some hardship there.
well, he came in and wrote an application, and he wrote it as if he had to have a 2-family because he was not gonna be living here. Does that need to be redone, or do we just accept that, saying someone didn't tell him that it hasn't changed, or it's still under voting to not be occupied,
Well, as of,
What does occupied mean?
living in 6 months or more out of the year,
Well, let's
Where
see
does
if
it say
there's,
that?
in my
let's see if
head.
it's talking.
My mother told me that.
Oh, well,
Mothers are never wrong.
My mother lived in Florida.
Do we have any definition?
I'm
we don't.
looking. No, I didn't bring my book, I'm sorry.
No. In the
Jeez.
ordinance, is there a definition in the ordinance?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Well, while Jason is probably looking for definitions, let me ask this of the applicant. You talked about adding additional impervious for parking if a 2-family is approved. I'm looking at your drawing here. Where would that be in relation to the building? I'm not quite.
To the right of the building where it shows like the 3 spaces,
There's 3 spaces in the back.
Yeah.
that would be new asphalt.
Yep.
Back here,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
Yep.
In the application, it was also stated that the women that live in the house now are elderly and may or may not need some care or help occasionally.
Yeah.
And so I thought, wow, parking behind the houses is gonna be terrible for people who have to walk to the front to get in.
Well, there's one
Just a
car
side
spot
comment.
exactly where it is now.
Yeah, I
So
saw them
we're not
today.
really changing that one, which would be the primary car.
Near the big tree, they parked just side by side, more or less, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep,
I mean, realistically, you can fit 3 cars in that driveway, other than they don't meet the planning definition, the zoning definition, due to the depth and the width and you need so far off of the house in the lot.
I think that's all changing at the town
So-
vote
And yeah,
too.
we're in the middle of the
Am I-
gray spot, and we were trying to decide whether to wait till after town ballot or not, and Mike wanted to try, because he's hoping to do something this summer.
Am I correct in thinking there's a 100-foot setback in the front that's required? No.
No, they
Thought
need
I had
a
seen
setback.
that
They,
written
they
in
meet,
the, what
looks
is
like
the
they meet all
setbacks?
the existing
25
setbacks.
foot.
25 feet, yeah, that's more realistic for, the
It's shown on
Yes,
the
of
plans,
course.
25-foot front yard.
yeah,
The
okay.
existing house doesn't really comply, but the way the addition is structured,
It
it
would
sets
be.
back behind, so that would work.
Yeah, yep. I get that 100 foot.
So what are you gonna do about the encroachment? I bet you've talked to a client about it, so what are you gonna do about it?
Probably nothing, unless the town tells them to do something.
Oh, they're gonna tell you,
What encroachment, can I ask? for
the
deep-
whole backyard.
The whole backyard, I heard that they had to take off part of the back they thought they owned
No.
to the fence.
They usurped right to the back fence,
This one right here, yeah, okay.
okay?
But
So,
But they're not the only ones.
they're not.
Yeah,
No, the
and-
majority of the people on that
think
side of the
that's
road are
every house
using
on
all the
your
way up to
street.
the top of the borough. And, you know, whatever the town decides, it's their land, so they can certainly decide it. One of the items that I think you would look at would be,
daughter lives 2 doors away.
somebody could possess this for 200 years and it won't make a difference because you can't adverse possess against a municipality. Right? So, you know, if the town says move stuff, then they'll move stuff, you know, there is no, you know, it was one of the conversations we had because they thought they owned to it, and when they asked Mike's mother-in-law, the recollection was they were told, you know, they were gonna own to the top of the hill, but there is no written record of that. No one can remember who told them that, so therefore the deed is the governing document, and the deed certainly says that this is what they own, right? So I think it's a function of whatever the town wants, the town could have, because it's their property.
But there are 2 or 3 lots on that street where there's a fence indicating where that property line is supposed to be, in some of the other backyards. And we have granted a variance on this same street where they were supposed to remove them, and they're still sitting there in the backyard.
Who's they?
So,
Who's they?
huh?
Who is they was supposed to remove them, the resident or the
Yeah.
town?
No, the
Oh, the
resident,
resident, because they had the fence in the wrong place.
no, it
okay.
wasn't a fence.
No, it wasn't a
He
fence.
had 2 storage sheds.
Oh, the storage shed, okay, yeah, like this one right here.
I think
No.
we've seen this before, that
There's an
many
arbor
people
over
are using
here.
the property.
And we also, as part of the motion for approval, indicated that they had to remove it and fence it.
Oh, remove the shed and fence it, okay.
I just think, I'm familiar enough with this area, my daughter lives a few doors away here, and I think you can go down that fence line, which is by the fences off the old landfill hills, and find most of the houses on that street probably are extended out into, if it's town land that doesn't meet it. I don't see it as a concern, as long as they are observing the lines of their deed for the development that is being proposed. If the town wants to bring an action to force them to remove whatever they have done in that area, then that's up to the town, but I don't think it should have material effect on this project.
Oh, yeah, I think it does,
How so?
because we've done it before. We approved a variance with the restriction that the encumbrance was to be removed. So we're gonna change the bus here?
I'm not when you say encumbrance to be
So,
removed.
but I
what
thought the whole point
I'm
of
not-
this was-
I'm not understanding your question, Alan.
The arbor or the shed, you're saying should be removed? Something in that property?
Oh, yeah, it's to be removed.
Well, I saw it, but it was this shed over here is what you're discussing, probably should be out of there.
Against the fence, yeah.
You're,
And there's an arbor over there, who owns it, I don't know.
The
Okay,
the applicant is.
The applicant owns it.
Yeah. So you, whatever the town says is fine. Well, I guess my point to you would be, it was made a condition of another variance and it wasn't adhered to and it wasn't enforced. So whatever it is, we don't have any leg in this situation, so it's not like we have any right to have it there. But, you know, I've been around long enough to know that there are lots of conditions that get put on lots of approvals. Some of them get enforced and some of them don't. So whatever it is the town wants, it's your land, so that's fine.
well, having that under, go ahead.
Are you stating that they have been told before to remove that?
No,
I
thought what Alan said was
another
on the
neighbor.
application, the
Okay.
previous application, where their condition was the shed was removed, the
Sure.
new fence was installed, it wasn't done, right?
No,
No, it
So-
wasn't.
That's nothing to do with them. Can you, one of the criteria you have to meet is hardship.
Mhm.
So you're looking to do a two-family versus an ADU. I guess I'd like some information on what the hardship is for that.
So, you know, typically, when I first started, hardship was always, is there anything else you can do? And if the answer was yes, you didn't have a hardship. So I think the courts have softened that to more of, is what you're proposing going to significantly alter or change the character of the neighborhood, right? And so I think if you were gonna look at this and say yes, then the answer would be, there's probably not a lot of two families around in this neighborhood that we saw. If you were gonna answer the question is no, then your zoning ordinance allows for it by right with the proper area. So, you know, we went back and forth on our side. We had a lot of debate over what was the best part and what was the best approach, and this was the approach that was decided on. But, you know, I've tried to be upfront. If it turns out that the zoning board isn't in favor of the two-family, then the applicant's plan would be to construct an ADU a similar size, and we'll just modify it to meet the terms of what an ADU has to have. And, you know, I looked at it before, and I can't remember, I don't think we're allowed to have a front door, and there's one other thing I gotta look at.
Jack?
you're not allowed to have a front door?
Yeah, I thought ADUs weren't supposed to have two front doors.
No, you
I
can't.
don't
No,
remember.
Yeah, you can.
No, we,
Yeah, because on the
There's never
2018
been a
code, you're,
problem.
you're supposed to.
Okay.
Jack,
Yes.
can you explain to me what the exact, what they're voting for? It's so that they don't have to be owner occupant?
Correct. Yeah,
And what else? I remember, that was a long time ago I attended that
I
meeting.
I believe it's to go along with what the state code is in relevance, so everything's in.
So that means they wouldn't have to do a interior door, a door to them, okay.
Correct.
And when is that being voted on?
Sometime in
March 12th.
Okay, so well before a building permit or construction would start.
Yes. And I believe it's, goes the state is 1,000 square feet instead of 800.
We're going to 1,000?
Mhm.
Are we really?
Yep,
If it's voted in.
if it's approved.
That wasn't how the meeting went. Okay.
I honestly don't see any hardship. Because.
For the two-family? And I don't see the hardship, and I just...
The thing is,
It's not fitting.
if you want to talk about residency, right? If I take and move my furniture in there, am I a resident? Even though I might also have a place in Florida, but where do I vote? Does it,
6 months and 1 day.
huh?
6 months and 1 day, where do you vote? You have to live in a place for 6 months and 1 day, you vote in that state or town.
So,
Jack, if we were, I'm just trying to talk out loud here,
Yeah.
approve an ADU unit, obviously we're approving per the laws, and the laws change.
Right.
Does that automatically let him benefit from those changes?
Yes.
Okay.
So, it's kind of funny. I've been trying to figure out how we define owner occupied, right? There isn't one. And even, I went into the state RSA's and I can't find anything. The closest I can find is the definition of a residence.
Correct.
And that's, a residence or residency shall mean a person's place of abode or domicile. The place of abode or domicile is that designated by a person as his or her principal place of physical presence to the exclusion of all others. So that's, if we were, I guess if I was going to interpret owner occupied residence, then that would be the person who owns it, if that's their physical presence, main domicile.
But many people live 6 months in one place and 6 months in another place.
But one, by our rules, that person has to designate one of those as their primary.
He designated in the application that Florida is his primary.
You know, that may change, so I'm not saying it couldn't change,
Right.
but right now, you know, his primary residence is in Florida. He would prefer to not have to go through that exercise, but there's, you know, there's options. It could be transferred to a family member, it could be put in a trust. There's different options. I'm not saying that's the end of our, whatever. I think, and the bigger thing would be is if, you know, so there was a question about, if it gets approved this way, does that limit us? So my understanding is the fallback for us would be, we would have to come before this board because, well, I don't remember what the 24 proposal says. The one that's in the current ordinance says that you can do, in order to build an ADU on an R2 lot, it has to be a complying lot of record. And so we only have 9,300 square feet where the ordinance now requires 10,000. So our hope would be is if the board did not look favorably upon the two-family, but you were fine with the, I think it's a special exception, which is what I'd need to put the ADU in, we would be granted a special exception for the ADU for the undersized lot, and then if we don't pull any permits until after the results of the town vote, then that we would just move forward with whatever the new ordinance was.
If it's passed.
So,
If it's passed, 100%. If it doesn't pass, then we're still where we are with the size we have, and it works.
so for purposes of this discussion, the applicant has specified their address as 501 Barber Street in Sebastian, Florida. So that would be how I would have to define their primary residence is what they put on their application. So they've said that their domicile is in Florida.
Okay. So I think I'm looking at this a different way. If we don't even address the variance, and we go straight to the special exception, what he's calling his address today, is based on our laws, is irrelevant as long as, if the law doesn't change, when it's done, then his address has to be in Goffstown.
If he wants an ADU.
Correct.
Yep.
Right, and
Okay.
two families.
Now, if the law changes in March, it's a non-issue.
That's assuming that the provision for residency isn't removed.
If the law passes,
Okay.
then it becomes a non-issue. He also, if we're not voting on the variance, could he not come back for that?
Could he not come back?
He
to that?
could,
Yes.
because we're not gonna vote. If we don't vote on it and we go straight to the special exception, I'm just talking out loud, I need
No.
answers from people who
Yes.
are smarter than me, then it doesn't close it and it could be a quick comeback
Right.
without going through all this
Just like the gentleman for the extension. Correct.
If you look at that last sentence, the single-family residence or the accessory dwelling unit shall be and shall remain owner occupied. That's either or. One or the other has to be owner occupied. That's what
Right,
that
but they're not
sentence
looking
says.
for an ADU. This is specifically
No, but
requesting
what
a
it
two-family.
allows for is if I own a home, I put an ADU on it, and I live in it, and then I can rent a house.
Oh, yeah.
That's what that sentence means.
Correct, but you'd be the property owner. So in this case, right, whether you live in the ADU or whether you live in the house,
Doesn't matter.
Right.
correct, but
Right.
you're the property owner and your primary residence is still in Goffstown.
Right. In that.
Where the
structure.
applicant would own the house, but his current primary residence is in Florida, right? So that's the difference of why
Right.
we're here. You know, there's some other ancillary changes that advantages of a two-family over a single, right? I'm sorry, a two-family over a single with an ADU, but, you know, that's the main ask is, you know, if we can do this, and if the zoning board feels strongly we're not, we'll withdraw the request, so there's no prejudice, and we would have the ability to come back, and we could have the special exception. We're gonna wait most likely until after the results of the town ballot, and then we'll make a decision then as to what we do.
One of the concerns would be, if you approve the ADU, what's to say they both can't be rented to other parties?
I would tell you the way I read owner occupied is you
Okay,
can't
that's
rent
right.
two.
You couldn't do it. But if it's a duplex, he doesn't have to be there. He can rent both sides
Yes. You know, so there are.
as rental properties.
Right, there are advantages, disadvantages for a duplex. A duplex, you could rent two sides, you can convert a duplex to a condex afterwards. There are different options that you don't have for an ADU. An ADU can't be converted to a condominium. One has to be owner occupied. There are different advantages that all factored into the ask for the two-family. That being said, the applicant's plan is to move into it, so we're not heavily vested
Right.
on one or the other. We were here anyhow, we figured we'd roll the dice and see what happens.
Roll the dice. That's a fun game.
I'm inclined to go straight to the ADU unit. In my eyes, when I vote for this, right today, it has to be owner occupied when this is complete. Which would mean that he has to claim Goffstown as his legal residence. He
No,
can't
that's
just
not what
say
it
it.
says. That's not what it says.
Well,
Occupying something doesn't make you a resident.
No? Oh, 6 months and 1 day makes you a resident.
That's correct.
No.
6 months, no?
No.
Okay,
voting.
but
It-
I am
that's
going to
voting.
make that
For voting
assumption.
purposes.
But New Hampshire is not saying that. New Hampshire says you have to define one.
If I were inclined to vote for the ADU unit, it is based on today's rules,
Correct.
okay? And I would think the applicant would understand that in March, there's gonna be a vote could likely change that rule.
Correct.
And if it doesn't change the rule, he can come back for a variance and do this again. I'm not inclined to giving him a variance for a two-family
So
today.
I guess the challenge that I have with that, I understand, I think what you're saying, but the hearing at hand has nothing to do with an ADU.
Yes, it does. There's a special exception as well.
No, but that's not what the special exception is for.
So the special exception is to have a two-family in the R2.
I thought it was for the ADU.
This
Oh,
specifically
man.
says is seeking a special
Sorry.
exception and a variance to convert a single-family home into a two-family home. Says nothing about ADU in here.
Sorry, I
No,
thought
but,
it was
so if you look at
for-
the special exception request, right, it's to allow the applicant to construct an addition with a second dwelling unit on an existing grandfathered lot of record. The lot is undersized, but proposed addition complies with the zoning requirements. So the need for the special exception is we're undersized, which actually applies to the ADU. So I believe the zoning board can modify that condition to say, allow the applicant to construct an ADU on the existing grandfathered lot of record. That would just be a modification of the
Correct.
approval.
Well, isn't there so you're saying You're saying instead of going with second dwelling unit, we modify it to say accessory dwelling unit?
Correct.
Okay.
So I'll withdraw the request for the two-family dwelling. And, you know, if we could just focus on the special exception to allow for the addition on the undersized lot, then, you know, what we would do is if the zoning board votes that up, we're gonna wait until March and we'll adjust. If the town voters decide in March to reject that motion, then the applicant would probably move forward with this plan as an ADU. I don't really see us coming back.
I don't have any further questions.
Mr. Yeaton,
I'm good.
Judy?
I'm good. I think we should just have the shed included in that and the arbor moved into the proper land surveyed, surveyed in front of the fence.
Or remove it.
Or remove it. Throw it down the hill like everything else.
Well, that was the landfill at one point, you realize.
Good point.
Actually, that fence screens the baseball field.
Yes.
And that's all it's there for.
That's right.
Yeah, but what's under the baseball fields, Alan?
Yeah, that's
You don't wanna know.
history in the making.
RSA 21-6 and RSA 54-1. Domicile residence.
Throw those out again, please.
No, 1 second, I'm not ready.
RSA 21-6A and RSA 654.1. When a person makes a town or ward in New Hampshire his or her principal place of physical presence to the exclusion of all other places, that person has established a domicile residence. That's the definition of both RSAs.
Hold on.
Basic concept, I should say.
No, any further questions, or would anyone like to make a motion?
You will get
Actually,
close the
There's
public
a
hearing?
fellow sitting in the audience, and maybe he has something to say. Maybe.
Now, let's not put everybody on the spot, Alan.
You do still have to open the public hearing, even if it's going through the motions. You have to open the public hearing, even if it's going through the motions.
All right, let's conclude your presentation, sir. Let me,
I'm all done if there's no other questions, thank you.
all
Isn't
right,
that what you said earlier?
looking around, I'm going to open the
Yeah.
public hearing to members of the public. If there is anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard about this application, please signify. Okay. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and the board will enter deliberations on this.
Jason, do you have it all typed up? Is that what you're working on?
No, I'm
Okay,
still
you-
trying to.
Okay. I'm gonna make a motion then.
All right,
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the special exception to add an ADU unit to a single-family home. The variance is required. The dimensions are, is it 10,000 square feet is required for the ADU?
That's the base lot size.
Baseline. And they have 9,319 square foot lot, where 10,000 square feet is required for an ADU unit.
Any special conditions on that motion?
Conditions is to follow the rules in place when he pulls a building permit.
I would,
How about the shed out back?
Remove the shed in the arbor that is on
Town
town
property.
property.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
Gail, do you have a copy of your question sheet?
No, don't have that bad.
Hang on, Jason.
That's what I was trying to find.
Your question, the
The
criteria.
5 questions.
More copies.
It's less because it's a special exception.
It's-
I don't even have that for the special exception. It's not all 5.
That the one you're looking for?
Yeah.
My shoes.
See if I got any more in here.
There's one for special exceptions as well.
I don't think I do. I'll
I
have
had,
to
it.
make-
I gave one to everybody. It was double-sided, one side variance, one side
I've always
special.
had
Got a whole
that's
bunch
why
of
I.
I got man, hand one?
I didn't get any.
You probably weren't here.
I wasn't here.
Next time, I'll bring some.
Darn it.
He said
'Cause it's on my computer, I can
This is
print
just
them out.
variance,
and bring
She
Curious.
said it was on the other
Yeah, I'm
side.
curious what it is.
not on
Okay,
these.
yeah.
We'll get some for everybody by the next meeting.
Remind me, and I'll bring some.
Okay,
I'll print them out. Or I'll send them to you. I'll email them to you guys.
please.
Jason, if you go to the application for special exception, you'll see.
Yeah,
The
it's on this,
questions and the
it's on
answers
this
as well.
sheet here. See, when I looked at the space, I didn't see any other multi-unit or like, it didn't fit the character of the neighborhood.
The ADU unit?
We
Yeah.
approved one on the other side of the street.
It's
I
an
didn't-
ADU
I
unit,
wasn't
not
on the board.
a duplex.
I- Well, they hit it really well, let's put it that way, I didn't see it, but
Yeah, there were no,
There's
none of the other
ADU
homes
units all
had
over
any
the area.
homes.
well, I don't know. There's nobody here that's counter to this, and I don't see any nagging things, so I think I'm okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're only short a matter of
Yeah.
not even 100 feet.
No, I have no questions.
All right, any
Thank you. A motion in a second.
further discussion? We'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, have a nice
Very welcome.
night.
Do we have to do anything with the variance?
Do you wanna keep
To
that?
withdraw
No,
it
he
or-
withdrew it.
He
Oh,
gave that.
So
Do you
if they
want
need to come back,
No,
I
I
just want to
don't.
give them that option.
that? Okay, here you go, Len. Oh, yep, here you go. Yeah.
I don't like to steal people's notes. I
Pardon?
know I have them somewhere,
What?
my
Oh,
list of questions.
And ADU units, I mean, we put those everywhere. They can be a development that has, they're the only ones, as long as they meet the criteria.
Okay, shall we talk to Mr. Bellevue?
Yes.
He's been waiting
No.
so
I think we should
patiently.
interrogate Mr. Bellevue.
the chair?
Come on, Diane, you get the chair.
a few times.
That's a hot seat.
I've been in the hot seat a few times.
Yeah, that's nothing. Wait to see what you're gonna go through tonight.
So the real question is, why would anybody want to
This
do
is
this?
enjoyable for me, so go for it.
I need his name first.
And you just, what is your name?
John J. Bellevue.
What is your quest? No.
And address?
49 Chattel Avenue.
Thank you.
And now,
Oh, I get
oh,
to start?
you get the opening question, Counselor.
John, why do you wanna be in the variance?
Well, you know what?
You know what?
Variance.
Why do I want to be?
Variance, put a variance, sorry.
The zoning.
Zoning,
board.
zoning, zoning.
I've lived in
Can't think.
Goffstown my whole life,
Yeah,
all right?
sorry.
And at this point in my life, you know, where I'm at, giving back's very important. And, you know, I'm very much into giving back these days, and this is one aspect of giving back that I haven't attempted yet. And with a little pushing and shoving, you know.
Arm twisting.
No names mentioned, but it's, I was getting past the knee, the knee's doing wonderful.
Good.
So,
it was brought to my attention that there's openings, and it's a perfect time. One day a month, no brainer, you know? And I've owned my own business for 32 years. And like I said, I've lived here my whole life. I graduated in Goffstown. And giving back to my community is very important. So, you know, and watching you guys, and there's some, yeah, I'm gonna have to sharpen my pencil, all the statutes and all. I want one of the books, you keep looking, I know. You had-
Don't worry, you'll
you
be
had some
getting
good
them.
answers. I'm not one of these guys, I'm not that, I am to do some, you know, my personal billing and some taking off and stuff like that, but, yeah, I'm a paper and pencil guy.
So John, my biggest question for you is you're gonna have cases here, and you may have not so much a conflict where it's a neighbor, but you may have a personal feeling that may not necessarily agree with what the person is asking for, but they meet the criteria. There is a strict criteria that we have to follow when we look at every case. Are you going to be able to put your personal feelings aside? And I ask this very seriously, because I think it is probably the number one thing being on this board that you have to consider. Because I've come in and really thought I was going to vote for or against a case. And the applicant explained their needs, and I changed my mind. And now I never come in with an attitude, not an attitude, or even a gut feeling, because you never know till you hear an applicant. And it's not an easy thing to do sometimes when you're voting for something that at your core you don't want to vote for, but you have to. Are you going to be able to do that?
Yeah, you know, I think about it this way. My personal feelings and my opinion have no place in this room. My profession and my experience and my willingness to serve does. So I just remain open-minded, you know, and willing, and, you know, I watch and I listen and I learn, and I'm able to be like that dry sponge and watch you guys in action, just tonight, you know? Pretty simple request, but you guys picked it apart really well, you know, and the ADU and the square footage. I know a lot about that stuff because I have experience with it.
Right.
Okay, on my personal side and my business side, you know. My business side is commercial construction, and there's a lot of aspects and, you know, the permitting processes and the stuff that we have to jump through to achieve goals and whatnot. But it's, you know, doing it the right way, making sure all the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted. And what I caught mostly like tonight, you guys, the laws might change in March, but you can't bet on what's going. We have to dictate on where we are today.
Correct.
And I saw the way you guys worked that, and that was because if he shot to the variance, he wouldn't have a chance to bring that back. So
Correct.
if he withdrew, yeah, he's able to return if the law changes.
Right.
Yeah, very interesting. It is for me, you know.
I kind of figured it would be.
Yeah, I can.
I think Denise said it very well, and I think as an alternate, you'll find it's a great way to get a feeling for if you like it, if you feel like you can do this for the longer term. A lot of us, I started as an alternate.
I
several
started
of
as
us
an alternate.
I did.
on the board, and you know, if you're there and you find you do it, and one meeting a month, you'll find that it takes a little preparation depending on the length of the, but you know, for the most part, it's pretty simple. It's good to go around, visit the sites, have a look at what you're actually approving, but you know, it's an educational process, and it takes us all a while. You know, we don't expect you to be up to speed on month one, and
Takes years.
Well, sure you do.
well, that's this guy here, but yeah, it's
We'll train you right.
yes, you can, but again, it's a good thing. We always need, you'll find that zoning of all the various boards in town seems to be the one that we get the fewest candidates for, and I wonder why sometimes. So,
You have to be a judge.
yeah,
It's a judicial process.
Quasi-judicial.
And it's the only place where it's a judicial process.
You want to explain the like being an alternate and how that works?
Yeah, basically, as an alternate, you're welcome to attend all meetings. You
Expected.
can participate in all the discussions and deliberations on things. The only time you'll get to vote, and I mean, it depends on the absences of the board members. If there's ever a board member absent, being the only alternate, you're going to be appointed as the voting alternate for that meeting, and you'll be able to vote on the matter there. But as far as, any discussions, deliberations, you have an equal voice as all the other members of the board.
Okay.
Anything else anyone would like to add? About what a great time we have here?
Oh, there's trainings and stuff. I mean,
That's
I've
true.
done a few of those. They've been really helpful. So
NHMA?
Hmm?
NHMA, yeah.
they're really good about defining what the boards are supposed to do. So I found that useful.
And you'll be outfitted with a full set of, procedures, the zoning ordinance, RSA.
Which will all change after.
There's a quiz
March.
too.
There's what?
There's a quiz.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I can even help you work with one of these things. So
That's what Jason does. Anything from anyone else?
Well, the best part is, you can't know everything. You can't
No.
remember everything.
You never try.
It's in the books.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, and Jack does a good job. When somebody applies for a variance, he just writes a little recap of it, and you have all the ordinances that he's discussing. So you'll always see me, sometimes we have a big night, I have 10 tabs here,
Yeah.
because it brings me right to the ordinance I am going to be talking about. Look at, I have Post-its, color code everything. It does definitely takes time. I go online, I look at GIS map.
Yeah, the
GIS, yeah.
town
With the map.
GIS, if you probably used it, is a great resource.
And then you'll go, I know where that place is.
I've been in here when the room was packed too. Those are interesting nights.
Oh, there's,
That's not the word I do.
well, interesting is a fair word.
Yeah, in the Mr. Spock sense of the word.
But fortunately, this zoning ordinance is one of the small ones in the state of New Hampshire. The one in Nashua is 400 pages.
Concord's 322.
So it's just, becomes more complicated as life goes on too.
Yep.
Well,
can we,
I'd like to make a motion to
Okay.
approve your nomination
Thank you.
as an alternate.
and I'd like the pleasure to second that, please.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? No? Welcome.
Thank you very much.
We're
What's his
looking
next
forward
step?
to it. Yes, Jack, what is, as far as paperwork and what he's got to do?
He's gonna get sworn in.
Yeah, you have to get sworn in, the Catherine, not Catherine,
Upstairs.
upstairs.
Kathy Ball.
Kathy Ball, the town clerk's office.
Kathy Ball, town clerk's
Okay,
office.
yeah,
So you get sworn in with her,
okay.
and
When do I do that? At any time?
yeah,
Or,
it's gonna be tough, because she has a really good background check on you.
okay, yeah. That's no problem either.
I think
That's
you
no
can do
problem.
it anytime before the next meeting.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
So the next meeting, you'll be emailed information
Okay,
on the case, but you'll also be mailed it. You get a packet in the mail.
okay.
How does Kathy know to fill out the form?
I'll get all those forms from Patty in the morning.
Okay.
Good.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So it's the first Tuesday of every month?
Pretty much, you get a calendar for the whole year.
Okay.
They'll change sometimes for holidays. And
Good.
Sometimes there's no meeting that night, but
Yeah.
I doubt that's gonna be the issue for the next year.
You don't mean like the first 3 months of '23 when we
No.
had nothing?
No.
That's the first time I've ever, that was so nice. Sorry.
Yeah, so what happens if there is nobody looking?
There's no meeting.
No
There's no
meeting.
meeting.
Oh, so you guys.
We don't waste people's time.
Beautiful.
But this is one of the short nights.
Yeah.
I mean, usually we have 3 or 4 cases.
Oh, yeah, typically,
Yeah.
at
Typically.
least. Yeah.
But
Motion to adjourn?
Well, before we do that, I just want to make sure the record, that, you know, we thank Gail for her service to this board. So, almost 20 years, huh? Well, thank you
20
very
years and
much.
24, so.
Well, I'm
not
very
sure which
happy.
month.
I did ask Gail if we could rely on her expertise, because she has quite the knowledge of this board, and she's very resourceful, and we are allowed to. While she
Yes.
takes the minutes, we are still allowed to say, Gail?
we're still allowed to pick her brain.
All right, good.
And we really appreciate that, and thank you, Jason, for
Yes,
doing this public.
I would second
You
that.
can still comment as a member of the public.
I could do that.
No, I'm serious.
I'll just
You're
go
a town
from here to
president.
there.
That's right.
From here to there.
If someone was to have a
She
question-
gets up and moves, I'm like, whoa.
You're a
She gets
member of
up
the
over
public.
there, though, you've got to take the minutes.
I do
It's called
wanna say one
initiation.
thing. I do want to say one thing, and that is, I was very impressed with how much you listened to what they said and how much you picked up on.
Yeah.
It was impressive.
Thank you.
All right.
Now she'll make the.
Now-
It's because we both went to the
adjournment
same grammar school.
thing.
Did I hear a motion to adjourn?
Yes, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.